There's something deeply disturbing happening to the middle class in America, and most people don't even realize they're caught in it. You're making decent money, maybe $60,000 to $120,000 per year. You're not poor by any measure, but somehow you're always stressed about finances. You can't seem to get ahead, and despite earning more than 70% of Americans, you feel broke. This isn't an accident. You've fallen into one or more of 4 specific traps that are engineered to keep you perpetually stuck in the middle. My name is Joe, and I spend way too much time analyzing why people who should be building wealth are instead treading water financially. If you've ever felt like you're redoing everything right but still queuing, break through to real financial security, hit subscribe, because we're about to expose the exact mechanisms keeping the middle class stuck in permanent financial limbo. Trap number 1. The debt normalization trap. Here's what happened over the past 30 years. Society convinced the middle class that debt is normal, not just acceptable, but expected. You're supposed to have a mortgage. You're supposed to have car payments. You're supposed to carry some credit card debt. Student loans are just part of getting educated. This normalization of debt has created a generation of people who measure financial decisions by monthly payments instead of total cost. Think about the last major purchase you made. Did you ask, how much does this cost? Or did you ask, what's the monthly payment? If you're like most middle-class Americans, you asked about the payment. And that's the trap. When you think in terms of payments instead of total cost, you lose sight of how much things actually cost and how much interest you're paying. Let me give you specific numbers. The average middle-class family has about $150,000 in debt spread across mortgages, car loans, student loans, and credit cards. At average interest rates, they're paying roughly $750 per month just in interest. That's $9,000 per year that vanishes into thin air, buying them absolutely nothing. Over a 30-year period, assuming they maintain similar debt levels, they'll pay over $270,000 in interest alone. But here's where it gets really insidious. Because debt payments are normalized, people don't even consider what life would look like without them. That's $750 per month in interest payments. Plus, the principal payments of maybe another $1,500 means $2,250 per month is going toward debt service. That's $27,000 per year that could be going toward investments, building businesses, or creating actual wealth. The truly wealthy avoid this trap entirely. They understand that debt is a tool to acquire appreciating assets, not depreciating consumer goods. They'll take on debt to buy rental properties or businesses, but they're not financing cars or carrying credit card balances. Meanwhile, the middle class has been convinced that being in debt is just how life works, which ensures they stay middle class forever. Number 2. The house poor trap. The American dream tells you that homeownership is the path to wealth. Buy the biggest house you can afford, and you'll build equity. This advice has probably destroyed more middle-class wealth than any other single piece of financial wisdom. Why? When people say buy as much house as you can afford, they mean get approved for the maximum mortgage possible. This leaves you house poor, where the majority of your income goes toward housing costs. The general rule that banks use is that you can afford a house that costs about 28% of your gross income for the mortgage payment, but this doesn't account for property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, and all the other costs of homeownership. When you add everything up, people are often spending 40% to 50% of their take-home pay on housing. This leaves almost nothing for saving, investing, or building wealth. Let me show you the math on what being house poor actually costs. Say you remaking $100,000 per year and you buy a $400,000 house with a 20% down payment. Your mortgage is $320,000 at 7% interest over 30 years. Your monthly payment is about $2,130 just for principal and interest. Add in property taxes of maybe $500 per month, insurance at $200, utilities at $300, and maintenance averaging $400. And you're at $3,530 per month, or $42,360 per year. After taxes, you're taking home maybe $70,000. After housing, you have $27,640 left for literally everything else. Car, food, insurance, healthcare, entertainment, saving, investing. You're trying to build wealth on $2,300 per month while living in a house that's eating half your income. This is why so many middle-class families feel broke despite good incomes. The alternative that nobody talks about is buying way less house than you can technically afford and investing the difference. If that same $100,000 earner bought a $250,000 house instead, their all-in housing costs might be $2,500 per month instead of $3,530. That's $1,030 per month, or $12,360 per year. That could go toward investments. Over 30 years at 8% returns. That's $1.5 million in additional wealth. But they won't do it because they've been convinced they need to maximize their housing to build wealth through equity. Trap number 3. The keeping up trap. This might be the most psychologically destructive trap on this list. The middle class is uniquely positioned to destroy themselves through comparison spending. Poor people compare themselves to other poor people and don't have the income to overspend. Rich people compare themselves to other rich people but have enough wealth that it doesn't matter. The middle class compares themselves to people slightly above them and has just enough income to fake it, but not enough to actually afford it. Here's how this plays out in real life. You're making $80,000 per year. The statistics on this are insane. The average middle-class American spends about 95% to 100% of their income. Some studies show that as income increases, spending increases at almost the exact same rate. People making $120,000 aren't saving dramatically more than people making $60,000 because they've upgraded their lifestyle to match. This is the keeping up trap in action. What makes this particularly destructive is that it's self-reinforcing. Everyone in the middle class is faking wealth to impress each other, and everyone is going broke doing it. Nobody wants to be the one person driving the older car or living in the smaller house, because they've internalized the idea that these things represent failure. So they continue spending money they don't have to impress people who are also spending money they don't have. The wealthy understand that actual wealth is invisible. It's money in investment accounts, not stuff in your driveway. But the middle class has been conditioned to measure success by visible consumption, which ensures they'll never accumulate the invisible wealth that actually matters. Trap. Number 4. The income illusion trap. This is a trap that ties everything together. The middle class believes they have an income problem when they actually have a spending and allocation problem. Someone making $75,000 thinks if they could just make $100,000, all their problems would be solved. Here's the reality. The difference between someone making $60,000 and someone making $120,000 should be that the higher earner has way more money to save and invest. But in practice, both often have roughly the same amount left over at the end of the month, because the higher earner has proportionally higher expenses. They live in a more expensive area, drive a nicer car, take more expensive vacations, eat at better restaurants. This creates a psychological trap where people are always chasing the next income level instead of optimizing their current income. They focus on earning more rather than keeping more. And because lifestyle inflation happens automatically while building wealth requires intent, they end up on a treadmill where more income never translates to more wealth. The numbers prove this. Families making $100,000 to $150,000 save an average of about 6% of their income. Families making $50,000 to $75,000 save about 5%. Despite earning twice as much, the higher income group is saving less than twice as much. The marginal dollar earned gets spent, not saved, because people believe they've earned the right to spend it. Escape route. Breaking free from these traps requires rejecting the entire middle-class financial playbook. You have to get comfortable with debt elimination instead of debt management. You have to buy way less house than you can afford. You have to completely opt out of keeping up with anyone. And you have to focus on the gap between income and expenses rather than just increasing income. The middle class stays stuck because they followed the script society gave them. Get the mortgage, finance the cars, spend to signal success, and hope that earning more will eventually solve everything. But that script was designed to keep you consuming, not to help you build wealth. The way out is to realize that everything you've been told about how middle-class people should handle money is exactly what is keeping you middle-class. Reject the traps, and you might actually have a shot at breaking through.